How's it going, everybody? This is Michael Oskam from ProWestRecording.com. I wanted to go over today, I'm working on a new song here. I have a new idea going, and I wanted to kind of take you through part of my creative process and how I work and get some of the tones that I get when I'm creating. I have a lot of friends who ask me, they say, you know, why don't my mixes sound very good? Why don't they sound good? Your mixes always, they just sound more real, more authentic, more professional. They're like, I'm using Pro Tools, I don't understand. And so this video is designed really just to kind of show just some building blocks on how to get things to start to sound good. If you're like me, when you're working on a new idea, you move very quickly. And just record, trying to capture the best sounds, obviously, but maybe you're just throwing limiters on everything, trying to get everything loud enough so you can hear it, and that only works for a little bit of time. So at this point, my creative process, I like to take a break from the, I've got everything pretty much laid out the way I want it, so I like to take a step back and get everything to start sounding good, start applying some dynamic processing, reverbs, things like that, to get everything to sound closer to how it's going to sound when it's done. So let's go over some of the things that I just started doing here. By no means is this track anywhere near done, but this is some of the stuff I've started doing. This drum loop that I'm using, I've built this drum part here from Easy Drummer. It's a great plugin. By the way, I should backtrack. I mentioned the Pro Tools thing. We're using Pro Tools here, but it doesn't matter what DAW you use. And using a particular DAW isn't going to make your mix sound more professional. Just want to put that out there. Knowing how to use your DAW is really what's going to make it more professional. I prefer to use Pro Tools, but you can really make outstanding mixes with a lot of the DAWs out there. So Easy Drummer, I use a lot of stock virtual instrument plugins. Expand, I use Expand a lot. Easy Drummer is not a stock plugin, but it's well worth the money. I really recommend it for if you're a singer-songwriter who knows a little bit about drums, but more importantly, you know what you want. It's a great plugin for the money. So there's my Easy Drummer plug. Anyway, so this particular loop is built from that, and on its own, it sounds pretty good. Let me take off some of this processing I have here. And my system's gonna freak out. That's pretty good. It's more important to me is the performance. I can get things to sound better. Easy Drummer, they allow you, from TuneTrack, by the way, they allow you to buy lots of expansion packs and other drum kits and things like that, which are great. They also have this dandy mixer here, but that's for minor tweaks. To get the real sound, to get them to sound real and sound real good, you're going to want to do some things. So this is what I've started to do. First and foremost, I have a Pro Tools stock EQ plugin on here. I love this plugin. I use it all the time. I have a ton of other EQ plugins, but I always come back to this one for some reason. And I have a lot. I have some of the best. I have the APIs and all those, and I do use those, but I find myself coming back to this. So this is just, give it some more bottom end and whatnot. So last week I had a video where I went over how to create a signal generator on a mono aux and have the send off your drums firing the gate to allow the subtone to come through with the kick drum. I have that same trick going on here. This is a 42 hertz tone that I have firing with my kick drum. So. And it sounds good. So there's one thing that's already going to sound great if you can get it to sound right. Now, I also have a parallel compression chain set up here. You can find a million videos on YouTube about parallel compression, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. I do highly recommend it no matter what genre of music you're working with. Maybe not like a slow jazz tune, but who knows, even then. So in this instance, I'm using the CLA 76 with all buttons in, and it sounds good. My split is a pre-fader send off of my drums. And And so that's just a really good start. You can blend that to taste too. I like to go a little further, and I'll put some more processing on this chain. First and foremost would be I'd like to EQ it a little bit differently. If you have, I find that if you have too much, now that I have this sub kick going on and I've EQ'd some low gain into it here, if you have too much low also coming from your parallel chain, you can get muddy and you can have some problems. So I'd probably EQ this a little differently to get it to sound different and better. Now, in this instance too, I'm using a drum reverb send, and the way that I have this set up is in specifically to get a particular sound. I have a split called room verb here off of my parallel chain, and then I also have a split going to the same place off of my drums. And the reason for that is I can blend them to taste. So this I have set up. First of all, this reverb is set up to sound like a really big room, and you'll find some other videos on the internet about how to get that big room sound. And the trick with that is pre-delay. So as you can see, I have a healthy dose of pre-delay. My room size is pretty big. My mix is all the way up, because I'm sending things to it, so I can control how much of the mix by how much I'm sending, not by how much of the so my whole idea in this sound, in this parallel chain, is to get this to sound like it was recorded in a big warehouse with room mics, you know, like a stereo pair of room mics really far away. So let's hear how that sounds. And then, see, that sounds cool. It sounds really good. And then you can blend in this channel, which has more of like what the spot mics on the kit might sound like, and throw them a little reverb. And then you can control the overall reverb level with this fader. It sounds great. It sounds a lot more authentic, that's for sure. And so that's a big trick into getting your drums to sound real, to sound like they were recorded in a real studio with a real drummer. So that alone will help your mix already start to sound a lot better. The second and last thing I'm going to show you on this video, I have a lot more going on in this tune, so I'll make some other videos on some of the other stuff I'm doing here. But we're going to stick with the rhythm section. The bass for this particular tune, you can see I have quite a few plugins instantiated here, and it's an expand instrument. Like I said, I use expand a lot, and first and foremost, let's just take a listen to the part. Pretty cool. So let me just go through my chain here. First thing I have is a compressor, and this compressor is not compressing normally. It's got a side chain set up. So if you watch my other video, how I set up the signal generator and the gate with the key input, it's the exact same steps, except instead of having your key input on your gate, you're going to have the key input on the compressor. So you're going to take a mono send off of your drum channel, and in this case I'm doing it off of my sub kick because it's filtered to only be looking at low EQ, low frequencies. Otherwise the compressor would then be firing when the snare hits and everything else. Watch the last video and you'll kind of understand what that means a little bit more. So now anytime this channel, my sub kick channel, fires, it's going to be sending information via the key input and the side chain to this compressor, so that when the drum kick kicks, it compresses and knocks a few dB off of the bass to let the, because those two instruments will fight each other because they live in similar frequency ranges. So when I hit play here, you'll see this knock off about 3 dB each time the drum, kick drum hits. Very cool. Play around with that. Obviously, I'm going to have to manipulate it to get it to sound just right, but that really will help your kick drum come through. Next, I have some equalization going on. It's just some cutting. This is a frequency that I found to be particularly annoying, and I got rid of. And um, don't get me wrong, more equalization will need to be done on this. Um, and then I have the legendary R bass plugin. If you don't have this, geez, I really recommend it as well. Bass tones are just amazing when you run them through this plugin. So here it is without it. And then here it is with it. It's amazing. It's night and day. And right now I have it set to the Pensado Kick Low preset, which is a great preset. I use it quite a bit for kick drums also. And then you know, don't be ashamed to work with presets. I've worked with a lot of guys who say, you know, you want to make a name for yourself as a mixer, you know, you shouldn't be using presets. And I think that school of thought is just silly. These guys like Dave and Manny and all these guys are, and Chris Lord Algae, you know, they helped with all the plugins creation. These guys are great. These guys are great legendary mixers. Let's take a page out of their book. And so I'm not ashamed at all to use presets. I'll use a preset and then I'll you know, tweak the settings and the parameters to get it to work a little bit better for my particular song that I'm working on. So some R bass. My bass always has some R bass going. And then just for the sake of it, I have a limiter kind of killing it, to be honest. And that's okay. Sometimes you need that. I'll probably tweak that a little bit further down the road also. So now we have a rhythm section that already sounds a million times better. Night and day, if you ask me. You know, let me bypass everything. And this is just the Easy Drummer virtual instrument, the Expand virtual instrument. You know, sounds like a lot of my friends' mixes. And here we go. Anyway, it's a great start. Hopefully you guys picked up some tips here today that that will help you if you're at that point where you've created you know, the groundwork to a song and you want it to start sounding like a finished product. Again, this has been Michael Oskam with ProWestRecording.com. Check back for more videos coming your way. Have a great day.